Welcome to Baconsale.
What? I feel welcome.
I think that's how I'd like to be greeted every day.
Just with some guy coughing in your direction.
Welcome to Baconsale.
Yeah, but as long as the point was across.
I think that was a proper amount of energy that we need for this show, because I feel like we're all a little overcast right now.
Oh, the weather is. But
yeah.
I have an excuse. What's your excuse?
I'm sad that you're feeling under the weather.
I am under the weather, but Baconsale must go on.
We're just sad with you, Joel. I'm trying to figure out if I can assign that opening to something. I can't.
Like as in a pop culture reference?
Yeah.
Well, you probably could. It was a kind of an epic rap battles of history thing.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Battles of history.
Oh, yeah. So there's nothing we do is original.
No. Well, there's no such thing as original thought.
That's very true.
It's just said differently. And,
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So, this is Baconsale.
Welcome, everybody. I am Joel.
I'm Kent.
And Jacob.
All right. What are we talking about today?
Today we're going to talk about TV show conversions to the movies. We're going to give... What?
It just sounded so proper.
Jake is proper. I mean, I don't know if you've listened to the show, Joel.
I'm supposed to be proper. I have to balance you guys out.
Jake is always proper.
You're saying we're improper?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Are you saying we're improper, poo-poo head?
Hey, family friendly.
That's right.
God, Joel.
Wait, you can say poo-poo head and I can't say turd?
Yes. These are the rules I'm dictating while under medication.
Yeah. This could be a good show.
It could be. We'll find out.
We should have given you more medicine just to make sure.
So, Jake, if you will, continue with your proper introduction.
Continuing the proper introduction, I would like to go ahead and say that we will be talking about TV shows that have been converted into movies. Two that
Why do you have to get so breathy?
Successfully. I'm trying to do the proper thing. Just stay with it.
I'm pretty sure
All right.
it's not proper.
It wasn't that breathy.
It's more like 2, 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, two.
Jake's obviously very impatient with this right now.
Yes. Yeah. Two that have been converted successfully to the movies. Two that have been total failures. And then I want to hear a pitch. What needs to be converted?
So I really hate to do this because this show is kind of based off a recent movie. And Joel and I often have these conversations where it's like, hey, this is coming out in the theaters this week. Oh, yeah, that probably sucks. But what does it well? Well, I saw Entourage this past week.
And you're a big fan of the show, too.
Huge fan.
Endless fan.
You've seen, how many episodes have you seen?
Approximately a quarter of one show.
And what did you think of that quarter of the one episode of Entourage?
I stabbed one eye out.
That would explain the patch.
This eye is actually
I thought you were just going for a Nick Fury look.
Yeah, no. Well, I do love Marvel, as we all know.
As we all know. So, because of that, because of the Entourage movie being turned into, because of the Entourage television show becoming a movie a decade after it was relevant.
Was it ever relevant? I don't know.
People talked about it. I heard mention of it on the HBO News
it
website.
lasted like 6 or 7 seasons, which
That
is,
long?
yeah, for HBO is pretty great. But it's just a real tacky show. It's Sex in the City for guys.
Okay.
Rich guys that are...
Rich one-percenters who don't have any grasp on reality?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not for me is what you're saying.
Big audience.
Okay,
clearly.
Yeah.
So, the movie's terrible, and I thought...
But we started talking about why.
Yeah.
Why this show? Of all the shows out there.
I mean, we could even go like HBO shows that could be movies or any TV show that could be movies, and then kind of what have they tried before and what didn't work.
Yep. So,
basically.
as Jake mentioned, we'll be talking about the best conversions. Is that what you called them? The best TV shows that became movies?
You call them conversions.
The worst TV shows that
so
became
much
movies.
cooler when I said it.
And then Kent and I will pitch ideas for conversions to movies.
Are we doing 2 pitches or just one?
2 best, 2 worst, 2 pitches.
Ooh, okay. I only did 1. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I only said one pitch. But yeah, if we have 2, then that's
I got 2.
All right. Let's start with you, Joel.
Which category are we going with here?
Well, we'll start with worst.
Okay, so one worst conversion, as we're calling them.
This is the second place worst, right?
We'll start with the
This
second
is
place
confusing.
worst. Yeah, this is. Well, because they're not in any real order, but I'll go with this one. So one of the worst TV shows, and I'd like to preface this by saying that I base this off of the height that it fell from, being that if it was already a cruddy show,
okay,
and then you make a cruddy movie out of it, that's not that bad. And so I wanted to more talk about movies or TV shows that were good, and when they made the movie, it was kind of awful. And so I went with the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, which became a movie called The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Wasn't Robert De Niro in that movie?
Robert De Niro, Jason Alexander, Rene Russo. Like, this wasn't some,
Oh, yeah.
slum actor movie. These are name actors, and yet they made this movie that was part live action, part CGI, and all crap.
Was Jason Alexander Boris?
Yeah. He was the Russian Boris in Moose and Squirrel and all that stuff. And Rene Russo was Natasha. And Robert De Niro was fearless leader. And it really
Which actually I can appreciate. I mean, De Niro playing a character named Fearless Leader.
But this to me seemed like the beginning of the end for De Niro. And I went, wow, he used to be such a good actor. What is he doing in this movie? And that really bugged me that he did this movie.
And I really think after that, he just started dropping off altogether because he did all the Meet the Parents movies.
Yeah. I'm actually looking up right now to see if this was the beginning of the end for him because this was 2000.
Okay.
Have you seen that Joel McHale bit about impersonating De Niro's agent?
What? No.
It's on when he did the presidential dinner or whatever. I don't know what it's called. But yeah, he went on and did that, and he was like, a lot of people like to impersonate Robert De Niro. Me? I'm going to impersonate his agent. And then he just answers the phone and goes, yes.
Well, it's true because, I mean, you think of Robert De Niro, back in the 70s, he was pretty important.
He is probably considered one of the best actors of all time.
I'm looking here at his movies, and they are all pretty straightforward and the ones we know and love until, I mean, it's like, just to give you an idea, just a couple here. 1995 was Casino, so still some important movie there. 1995, The Heat. The Heat. It's just Heat.
Yeah, it's not the Melissa McCarthy Sandra
You
Bullock
get to
movie.
1998, Ronin. 1999, Analyze This. 2000, The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, and then it's Meet the Parents that same year.
Okay.
And then it just goes downhill from there.
We just got old and wanted to
Can we
play
get
a
some
little.
of the lowest points in his career?
Well, I think Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers are two of those that are just kind of like, oh, come
Although
on.
Meet the Parents was huge,
Yeah, that was a big movie.
even though it was a definite drop.
It just seems like he's slumming at this point. And this movie, I like Rocky and Bullwinkle. Like, I as a kid, I watched that all the time when it was on TV.
But did you like it when you watched it?
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm like, this is like third-rate cartoons. Because for me, there was always like the Disney cartoons, which were at the top.
Yeah.
Then right underneath, there were Looney Tunes.
Yes.
Or Merry Melodies. Mm-hmm. And then there was Rocky and Bullwinkle and Underdog and Mighty Mouse and all those other cruddy ones somewhere down there.
But they were fun. I mean, it was
not really fun.
They
They
weren't
were like,
the cartoons I would turn off. Like, they weren't the boring ones I would turn off. But
it's because you were a kid and it's a cartoon.
exactly.
You're
it's
like, I'm not going
consumable.
outside.
It's so sunny out there. Yes.
Let me just watch these boring pastel Canadian cartoons.
But if you think about it, like Rocky and Bullwinkle, they're iconic. Like everyone knows Rocky and Bullwinkle. Even Uncle Joey on Full House knows Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, because he's Canadian.
But I just feel like it was a classic cartoon that did not need a remake, and they turned it into something awful, and they made it less relevant.
It was a strange time because didn't they do Dudley Do Right about the same year?
I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
And, Brendan Fraser was kind of a big thing in that 4-year period.
Just weird to hear the
When
words.
he's doing-
It's just weird to hear the words Brendan Fraser and Big Thing in a sentence
Yeah.
that's not in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was like an extension of the 90s, let's be honest.
Oh,
But,
you're right. Yeah, Dudley Do Right, 1999.
He had George of the Jungle, which was a adaptation.
And I do like George of the Jungle.
You do?
I do.
It's pretty silly.
I like the movie more than I like the cartoon.
Yeah, it is. But well, there is no cartoon. I think it's only a song.
No, it's a cartoon.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a real cartoon.
Well, you would know because you watched these like fourth
George
tier.
of the Jungle. I was a child of television, and so I was consuming almost everything I could find. Although I will say the George of the Jungle knowledge is mostly based off Weird Al Yankovic's cover of the original theme song.
Yeah.
So thank you, Weird Al.
Like most songs, really.
Like most songs.
All right, Kent, let's hear yours.
My second, see, I went a little different route than Joel. I didn't actually watch this original show because it was on in the 60s. Mm-hmm. And even though I've seen a lot of shows from back then, I never saw this one, and I don't know why, but it's Wild Wild West.
Oh, Wild Wild West.
The
movie that Will Smith did instead of The Matrix.
Yeah.
Nice choice.
Well, it's a bit strange because Will Smith, he had this formula which worked out for him so well. And basically it was like alien or catastrophe, threatening the world. Mm-hmm. And he had to play this comic hero, and it was basically like 7 points he would hit on, and that's why he did Independence Day.
Welcome to Earth.
Welcome to Earth. He had to do Men in Black, and it just worked out for him. He became the biggest star on the planet.
when fighting aliens.
Yes.
And
in summer blockbusters.
And he didn't want to fight computers, is what it came down to.
He knew they were family friendly, and he was going to do these movies, although Enemy of the State was rated R, and he did that one, which was, I don't know.
And no aliens there.
A strange choice, but still, you know.
Yeah.
Then he does this movie, which, as Joel has described, is he did instead of Matrix.
Yep.
And I think it fit all the criteria, but I don't think you read the script.
But and that's my question is, why do you, Kent, think that Wild Wild West failed so much? Where was the issue?
I think it was a conglomeration of 8 other movies. There's a lot of history here, but the guy who was supposed to write the Superman Returns movie with Nicolas Cage,
Right.
and Kevin Smith tells a great story about this. He moved on to this after the Superman Returns project fell apart because he wanted to add a giant spider in a summer movie. Giant tarantula.
That was his requirement?
It was his requirement.
Do you have any movies with giant spiders in them? It? Is that already taken? We're not doing it? Okay, then let's do it.
Is it a giant robot spider? Because I need that.
Oh, no, you're right. The Stephen King's It. It's just
it was this great idea of like, the finale of this movie will be a giant tarantula, and people are going to love it because special effects aren't that great yet, but they'll still like it.
But let me ask you a question here. Will Smith.
Yes.
As an actor.
Super charismatic.
You like him?
Yeah, everyone liked him.
Kevin Kline, do you like him?
Yes.
Kenneth Branagh, do you like him?
Yes.
Selma Hayek, do you like her?
Yes. Do you like how it got deeper every time? Yes.
But what? How could it go wrong?
You're right. How could it go wrong? Well, Kenneth Branagh, great actor, and he was at this time directing Shakespearean adaptations like crazy.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he puts on the Southern drawl, which is awful.
A racist Southern half person.
Yeah, the half-person thing.
I don't understand how that's medically possible, but...
And I know, for example, Selma Hayek, you put a corset on her and no one's going to complain.
I will say, this was the movie that made me realize that Selma Hayek may not be that good of an actress.
Yeah.
I watched it and I went, okay, she's really not... I can't even remember the line exactly, but I remember listening to her and going, wow, she delivered that terribly. And then the whole movie, I couldn't take her seriously. Also... I will say this was the movie that introduced me to the scientific fact that when people die, the last image is burned on their retinas and you can project it on a wall.
See, that's what I'm saying.
It's terrible.
This is 8 other movies. They were saying, okay, we need a buddy comedy set right after the Civil War for some reason.
Check.
And so there needs to be that drama. So it's kind of a Western, but it's also in the future because we have a robotic spider. And we're going to inject so much comedy that doesn't fit.
But we did get a really cool theme song out of it.
With a pop theme song.
With the Wild Wild West. Because it worked so well with Men in Black, they tried to do it again.
Didn't Cisco contribute to that song as well?
I don't know.
I think he did.
Yeah.
Fact checker. We have a couple fact checkers on Facebook, by the way.
Do we?
Yeah, when you and I post things. And also go to, by the way, this would be a good time to mention Twitter, at Baconsale.
Yep, we are there.
Let us know if we're wrong, because we like to spout facts. And sometimes they're not facts.
It's the problem with improv is you shoot out facts, but you don't check them because they just have to come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So But Wild Wild West was a TV show, and it was a successful TV show. And it had the sci-fi angle to it.
And it should have worked.
But what they did is, like Kevin Kline's character, for example, they try to make him somehow like a British comedy import. Dress as a woman, and that will be funny. Let's have an awkward experience with the massaging or whatever's going on in that one scene. It's not.
It did make me laugh, though, when Will Smith thought the other guy was... Kevin Kline dressed as a woman and does a little Morse code.
So you're a fan?
No.
Sounds like you're. Here you are saying, here are all these great actors.
I'm saying this. That's what was so befuddling to me, and yes, I use that word befuddling.
Yes.
About the movie was it shouldn't have gone wrong, and yet it was terrible.
Yeah.
I can't think of the last time I saw it, but I kind of watched it more than once. I can't have watched it.
Well, and I think it was made for children as well, but I would never show my kids this movie.
No.
Because there's a lot of inappropriate humor as well.
Yeah.
But the way the action goes is kind of meant to surprise and fascinate kids, because we've seen it all before.
Well, wasn't the opening... I remember I was like, I need to watch this again. I remember it was terrible, but I can't remember why, which is the same thing we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And I watched the opening again, and it was pretty violent.
Okay.
It was like somebody threw like...
I don't even remember.
Some
They're
metal
shooting that
sphere
metal
or something.
Star.
Oh, yeah.
Chops off his head.
Yeah,
He's being
chops off
chased
his
through the
head.
forest.
Right.
Well, and that's kind of Barry Sonnenfeld, the director's MO. He did Men in Black, so he'll put a little bit of dark humor in there.
Which is fine.
But it was definitely not a great reunion for Will Smith and Sonnenfeld.
No.
And just a little bit of information on this. It got 17% Rotten Tomatoes. It cost $170 million to make.
Wow.
What a wash.
That's more than I make in a month.
A little bit. And domestically, it made $113 million, which is low for this movie.
Yeah, especially if it costs
And globally, it made $222 million. So it made a profit. So glad they didn't make a sequel. I think Will Smith kind of went, should take a break from this.
Yeah.
For 2 years and then make Men in Black 2, which is almost as bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So that's the second worst TV to movie adaptation.
All right, let's jump to a good one then, Joel.
For the best?
Yep.
Okay, then I'm going to go with one of the best TV to movie adaptations is The Fugitive.
I knew you'd say this.
Because it's fantastic. I mean, people are surprised to find out that it was actually a TV series.
Yeah.
And yet it was this iconic, classic TV series in the 60s. And they spanned multiple seasons of Dr. Richard Kimball trying to find the man with one arm and him going on these various adventures and getting into trouble and being chased by the Detective Gerard. And
can you tell me this? I mean, this is all, I've never seen the show. Mm-hmm. Was it the same plot in the TV show?
Very basically. Like what the movie did essentially was condense all these seasons down to the core episodes.
So there was a one-armed man.
There was a one-armed man.
Yeah,
there is a one-armed man that he had to chase. And the thing about it is the movie, like I said, it was so well done that you don't even realize there was a series. And then when you realize there's a series, you realize, wow, they adapted this very well. And the movie, even though it was made in the early 90s, still holds up. If you watch it, it's one of those, Shawshank Redemption kind of movies. When it's on, you're like, oh, yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah, it does. I watched it not too long ago.
Yeah.
And it's a Harrison Ford movie where it looks like he actually cares about the role. Because anything in the past 15 years,
yeah. Which is why when it goes to U.S. Marshals, it just goes to pot, because U.S. Marshals was terrible.
And that's the thing. Tommy Lee Jones, obviously around well before this, but this is the movie that made everyone just sit and go, oh, Tommy Lee Jones.
Well, I mean, just that one line of, I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, that old man, he's funny. And it worked out pretty well. I just think they did a great job of turning that into a movie and making it a standalone movie. But also when you realize where it came from, it's a loving homage, and it's a very well done film.
You and I were talking the other week, and I was asking what some of the best summer blockbusters were.
Right.
Was this a summer movie?
I believe The Fugitive was a summer movie.
It came out when, like 1994?
I want to say.
Once again, we need a fact checker.
1993.
Okay,
we were close.
And that was a big time for Ford.
August 1993. So this is a summer blockbuster.
And he did great in the 90s. He had Patriot Games right after that, Clear and Present Danger, Regarding Henry, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if you look at the highest grossing films in 1993, it's like Jurassic Park, Mrs. Doubtfire, The Fugitive, Schindler's List, The Firm. Like these are good movies.
It's a good year.
Yeah.
It is a good year.
That's strange how much it's changed from
Indecent Proposal, Cliffhanger, Sleepless in Seattle, Philadelphia, The Pelican Brief.
But that's interesting that thrillers were so prominent at that time.
Well, and
thrillers really don't do well now, or if they're even made.
But it is interesting to look at the number one movie that year, Jurassic Park, adaptation of a novel.
Yeah.
The Fugitive, adaptation of a series. The Firm, novel. The Pelican Brief, novel. Like,
yeah.
Nowadays, they're doing all these reboots, and they're not as thrilling, to be honest.
Yeah.
These were original enough movies that they weren't part of a series. And, well, with the exception of Jurassic Park, and I guess there was the sequel to The Fugitive, there's really not a lot of sequels in here. These are all standalones.
That was a pretty good year for original stuff. And John Grisham was loving it.
Yeah, that was the year of John Grisham.
Raking it in.
All right, that's mine.
Yeah,
The Fugitive.
Let's go back to you. Let's do a...
All right, so one of the best is 21 Jump Street.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, have you watched an episode of 21 Jump Street?
So when you were watching Rocky and Bullwinkle, this probably explains a lot about us. Mm-hmm. I was watching Richard Grieco and Johnny Depp go undercover in 21 Jump Street.
All right, sing the theme song.
Hold on.
Want me to start you off?
Yeah.
You better be ready to jump down on Jump Street.
All right, so see, you have a history with the show.
Down on Jump Street.
See, I was going to sing, whatever happened to possibilities?
That's not right. That's wrong.
Well done. See, I don't know. It was a really dark show back in the day. I remember there was an entire show about like a heroin overdose.
Wait, tough because you were a kid at the time, or actually?
Yeah, I mean, it was not meant for kids. It was the early days of Fox.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question again, and I want an honest answer.
Okay.
How many Richard Grieco posters did you have on your wall?
All of them.
None.
Just making sure.
Although he was my favorite character.
Really?
Yeah.
Richard Grieco?
Yeah, even over Johnny Depp.
That's bizarre.
And he was like a late addition to the show. I
Okay.
felt like. But
So 21 Jump
so
Street.
21
TV show.
Jump Street was a TV show, and it's an early Fox show, so we know the quality is not high.
Okay.
And I remember when they announced it, and I said, "Oh, okay, lack of originality in Hollywood, way to go." And they said, "This is Jonah Hill's passion project."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, it's going to be even worse."
Yeah.
No kidding.
Basically, the guy who is known for Superbad, and then everything else bad that followed. I mean, I love Superbad, but he's done a lot of crappy movies. And then
Wait,
the
you're talking
movie-
about Jonah Hill or you're talking
Jonah
about
Hill.
McLovin?
Jonah Hill.
Okay.
Yeah, the McLovin. He's still in movies?
He was in a movie, I'm pretty sure, after that.
Was he?
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
So Jonah Hill then signs on Channing Tatum. And I've been watching this movie happen for like a year before.
Because you like to read a lot of spoilers.
I do. And I'm like, Channing Tatum, I hate that guy. And I hate him even more now. But back then I'm like, they got a guy that can't act. He
You
just
hate
mumbles.
him, and yet he's in one of your best adaptations?
Yes. And that's what happened. So the movie starts, and I am laughing the entire time.
You
So
hate comedies.
no, I know. But this is what I consider, now follow me here,
I'm following.
an action comedy. So comedy is
Okay, so it's not a
found-
straightforward comedy. It's an action comedy.
even though, it is
Just
barely.
Well,
There's in-your-face jokes.
And that's what I was going to
clearly.
say, is you don't like straightforward comedies, but if it's any sort of hybrid, you
Yes.
prefer that.
For example, there's a car chase in this movie where there's all these things happening, and I mean, occasions where a car should explode or roll over, and the car never explodes. And you're watching it for like 5 minutes going, oh, that's kind of funny. And then at the very end, like, I forget what happens. Like a
For no
rubber
reason
chicken
at all.
like drops on like a car and it explodes. And it is almost like a Last Action Hero type humor.
Which I really enjoy, Last Action Hero.
Yeah, it worked.
Okay.
Directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who've really made names for themselves at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Then they went on to do the Lego Movie from Crass Rated R, 21 Jump Street.
To family friendly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, at this point, they're just showing their range, and I thought this was a great debut for them. And even though I didn't love 22 Jump Street as much,
Mm-hmm.
it still made me laugh a lot.
You want to know why I think 21 Jump Street worked? And this is a spoiler alert, everybody.
Okay.
Spoiler alert for 21 Jump Street. I think the cameo by Johnny Depp and the other guy whose name I can't remember. He's the younger brother of someone.
Yeah, he's
but I can't
someone.
remember. But
Tall guy.
yeah, but the fact that they pop in, they're like, "Oh, you're Jump Street? We're Jump Street," and then they get killed. Johnny Depp gets mercilessly killed,
Like, way to go, Johnny Depp. Like, that was a great cameo.
and it was. And I heard that he only did the cameo if they agreed to kill him off, which I think was hilarious, and it worked. Like, I laughed so hard at that part because I'm like, "Hey, there! Whoa, did not see that coming."
There's nothing about the movie that should work. I mean, Ice Cube is their
You can't even finish that sentence.
Ice Cube is their chief, and it's Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, which I don't care for either. But Channing Tatum worked in comedy.
So you say it worked because of the writing?
It worked because of the writing. My low expectations going in, and then the writing throughout.
Okay.
And
So
I
go
love
into
it.
movies with lowered expectations, folks. You'll never be disappointed.
A little bit.
Good to know. Good to know.
All right.
Well, should we jump back to a bad one, Joel?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I'll go with this is my number one, apparently, because I saved this one for this one. I think that the worst adaptation of a TV show into a movie is Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm actually mad about this. Like, I'm
a
trying
good
to
choice.
control myself. Because
This is kind of perfect for you.
I did not watch Avatar: The Last Airbender while it was on the air. Someone introduced me to it later. I watched the whole series on DVD, and I was amazed by how entertaining and fun it was. Like, it was this very cool mythology.
Can you describe the series a little bit?
Yeah, the series, it's a Nickelodeon cartoon. It's based on anime, and I'm not a huge anime fan, but it kind of looks like
It's
anime.
American anime,
It's American
essentially.
anime. But it's about these 4 tribes, earth, water, wind, fire, who, they live on this planet together, and then they have benders, which are kind of like Jedi, in the sense that only a few people can do
In
it.
England, benders means something else.
Yeah, it's something completely different.
Continue.
But these benders in each tribe can, like, the water benders can manipulate water. Like, they can move water, or the fire benders can shoot fire.
So it's the fifth element with only 4 elements.
It's the fifth element with less Chris Tucker. So,
Oh,
and then the whole point is the Fire Nation takes over. Oh, well, there's the Avatar who can control all 4 elements, and he keeps the world in peace. But then he disappears, and the Fire Nation takes over everything. So, from a mythology standpoint, it's this whole new world. It's new ideas. It's innovative and it's creative, and I really enjoyed it. But it was funny. Like, there are moments where I genuinely still laugh every time I watch it, and I have watched this series multiple times.
yeah.
And then M. Night Shyamalan, which I can already hear the pitch meeting. He walks up and sees his kids watching the show, and he's like, that is a very amazing mythology. You know what I want to do? I'm going to take that movie and suck all the fun and humor out of it. Because that's what he did. He made it so serious that it was almost unrecognizable. And they picked the worst actors possible.
Yeah. I mean, it was like George Lucas hiring bad.
It's terrible.
It was.
All the kid actors they're terrible actors. I'm sorry if you're listening, but you were terrible in that movie.
Jackson Rathbone. Oh,
I don't feel bad for him. But but then I mean and they altered the story too. I mean, the movie is just the first season of Avatar: Last Airbender.
And they make that very clear in the movie, right? They say like Volume 1 or Part 1.
Yeah, in
Book 1. Is that what they call it in the movie?
Show. Yeah, it's Book 1.
Okay.
Yeah, which is Book 1 is air. No, water.
And we've seen so many book or movie adaptations that have failed because they pitch so much. They want you to anticipate so much for the sequel that typically a sequel never happens.
And this would have made a good trilogy had it not been completely botched. And he would change things for no real reason. Like, in the TV show, the character's name is Aang, the main character.
Yes.
And for some reason, they call him Ong the whole movie.
They call him Ong in the movie?
They call him Ong in the movie. And I remember thinking, well,
they're maybe trying to be a little bit more racially appropriate.
Except for the fact they cast all white actors.
Exactly.
So it really made me mad. And I feel bad for anyone who watched the movie. In fact, I'd like to make this plea. If any of you watched The Last Airbender movie, which they couldn't call it Avatar: The Last Airbender, because people thought it'd be confused with James Cameron's Avatar. Yes. But they call it The Last Airbender. And if you watched that movie and you hated it, please know this series is so much better. Like, to me, the series is a 5-star series. I can watch that multiple times and never get sick of it. The movie is like a 1-star movie.
6% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So that's mine. I think Avatar: The Last Airbender is a horrible, horrible waste of celluloid.
All right, good call.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, jeez.
M. Night Shyamalan.
I just let you go with that one, by the way. You just keep going.
I could have gone on longer.
I know we talked about this last show or not. M. Night Shyamalan's worst movie?
It's
because what he did?
Probably what he did to this one. Original ones, it'd be probably Lady in the Water, but this one is the worst.
Still, The Happening is worse than Lady in the Water.
At least there was an emotional reaction in a part or two for The Happening for me. There's a part or two
like
when I went,
a gross reaction.
Well, there's that, but it was more of like horror and
all right.
But yeah, so it's terrible. By the way, I'd like to mention, speaking of last show, that I did make good with my my debt to Kent.
Oh, yes, you did.
I paid him in the
did you really?
I paid him 3 chicken soft tacos for winning the quiz.
It's kind of awesome.
Hilton always pays his debts.
That's funny.
Really? Is that what you're equating yourself with?
Yes.
The Lannisters?
Maybe a little bit.
Am I the Starks here, or at least hopefully not the Greyjoys?
Oh, don't be a Greyjoy, kids.
All right, Kenton, you go.
The worst TV to movie adaptation came out in the year 2010, and it's called The Last Airbender.
Oh, you did it too.
It's the absolute
but
worst.
Wait, did you watch the series?
So I didn't. I knew the series existed. My brother had told me for a long time, hey, I'm watching this with my kids. It's great. You should watch it. And I said, no, because, well, a once great filmmaker is making a movie, and I'll just watch the movie because I don't love anime. And so I decided to wait, and I thought, all right, The Happening really sucked. Lady in the Water really sucked. Shyamalan has kind of lost it, but he can't ruin a surefire blockbuster.
Oh, though, he can. He's talented.
He was a terrible director for that right from the beginning.
No, but how could you ruin this? Because with the show, you could even condense that first book or / first season and make it into a really tight story. Mm-hmm. Anyone could have, but M. Night Shyamalan directed it. And he ruined it. You're right. There was no joy. The acting was so bad. The special effects were terrible.
Yeah.
And I just sat there going, if this is anything like the show, the show's got to be pretty bad. And granted, I've seen Dragon Ball and the Dragon Ball movie and gone.
I forgot about the Dragon Ball movie.
Anime conversions don't really work. And I thought maybe that's why this movie sucks. Just the constant exposition of a history I don't care about.
But here's... Okay. So Kent, my plea was to you.
So, no, and this actually happens in the story.
Right.
Because 2 years later, I met you.
Right.
And it was a beautiful day. It was a sunny Friday. And you said, we were talking about worst movies ever. Of course, Airbender came up.
Right.
And you said, I'd like that not to ruin your experience.
Right.
And I would like you to watch the show.
Yeah. And you did.
For about a year, I resisted. actually.
Right.
I just didn't care.
Right.
And then I watched book 1.
Okay.
And at first I was like, okay, this is silly. All right. And then by the time I got to the end, I'm like, oh, this is great.
Okay.
This is great. And now I'm even more angry at M. Night Shyamalan.
As you should be.
And I haven't
emotions
actually
are accurate.
continued with the rest of the books in the
You haven't
first
yet?
series. No.
I own
But I
all
need
of
to.
them.
I know you own them. I need to
Can't-
watch them.
I
gonna-
understand. I understand that you haven't watched the
Is this a call to action coming up?
a little bit. I understand that you haven't watched the second and third books. Is this true?
It is true.
I understand how you're feeling. Kent, will you watch books 2 and 3 if I bring them to you on DVD?
Can we pray about it?
Yes, we can. After it's over, I want you to pray about it to know if the series is awesome.
No. Well done. That's more effective.
Thank you.
Actually.
Thank you. It was on
well done.
the right side of the guide.
Just try and say no.
You know, and that's the thing.
I will bring those Monday.
Really?
I will bring the
'Cause
DVDs Monday.
I don't know what happened. I think I watched them. I think you let me borrow them, or I watched them on Amazon, and just something happened.
No, they were on Netflix for a long time.
That's it.
And then they got taken off Netflix.
Yeah.
And so now I actually, because of that, because I wanted to show this series to my kids, and I did, but they were young and they forgot about it. So I wanted to show it to them again, and it was off of Netflix. So I bought them.
Are you happy that, let's just say M. Night Shyamalan's second Airbender movie would have been better? Would you have liked to seen the series progress live action, or are you glad it just stopped?
It needed to die. It needed to die. It was a mercy kill not doing another sequel, because that would have been terrible.
Yeah.
Because based on what he did in the first one, if they were going to continue with those same actors in the same format, they would have killed season 2 and then killed season 3.
Yeah.
It would have been terrible. They probably would have broken up season 3 into 2 movies, though, part 1 and part 2. That's what people do these days. It's not a trilogy anymore. It's a quadrilogy.
But it is strange, because that movie really kind of proved that M. Night Shyamalan could not do a summer movie.
Yep.
He's more of an autumn movie release sort of guy.
Now they hide his name in anything
No,
they
they
do.
do. Like After Earth. No one even knew it was a Shyamalan
Starring
movie.
whom?
Will Smith
Against
and James
what?
Smith.
Aliens!
Yes, exactly. And that worked out well for him.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go. Kent and I agree. The worst adaptation from TV to movie is Avatar.
And you know what it did? It kind of ruined Dev Patel. He 2 years earlier, he came off of this great role in Slumdog Millionaire.
He did.
And everyone's like, who is this guy who is dating Frida Pinto, he's the luckiest guy ever. I just had to add that in. And then he does this movie, and oh, man.
Yeah. I don't think he's really recovered from this. I don't think no one in that movie has gone on to bigger and better things.
What, not Noah Ringer?
No. Nothing. Not Jason Rathbone either.
Jackson Rathbone.
I don't know.
He was in the Twilight series.
You're asking me to remember his name, and I'm not going to.
He played Jasper in the Twilight. He's the one that stared all the time.
Oh, God. Those movies.
And he looked like that shrunken head guy in Beetlejuice.
All right, Joel, let's get to, let's hear a pitch. I want to hear a pitch.
Speaking of TV shows that I love, I'm going to say that I'll go with number 2 first.
Yeah.
My number 2 pitch is for Community. I know I talked about them on the best TV shows.
I'm not surprised.
I just watched the season 6 finale, and it needs a movie. And not just because the mantra is 6 seasons in a movie. I really want it to happen, though, because I think that even though the series ended, it ended. They really don't have to do a season 7. It really had some closure in that final episode. But I already have an idea of how they can get everyone back together. There's going to be minor spoilers here because it does discuss some things about characters on the show. So, Abed is going to be in L.A. He's going to be making a movie. He's going to try to get movie ideas and finally realize that he wants to do a movie about his community college experience.
Okay.
It gets greenlit, so then he has to go around and find all the other people in what they're doing and bring them back to this set that looks like their conference room. And he has to think of the Muppets, essentially. It's like them going around and gathering all these people and bringing them together into this movie together. And I think it could really work because the Muppets is very meta. And I think Community also fits in that genre of meta. And I think it would need to happen very meta, where they're aware of what they're doing and they're talking about it as if it were a movie. And also, well, Donald Glover would have to come back.
No, everyone would have to come back.
This is a good setup, honestly.
I think it's a good pitch, and I think they should do it that way. Because they've already kind of established in the show they can't keep hanging out in that conference room together because it really doesn't make sense when some are teachers and some are deans and some are students who are moving on. It really doesn't work. And so they need a new setting, and I think that could be the setting, at least one more. They can get them all
From
together.
what I hear, it ended.
It did.
Yes.
It was definite closure. Like, that could have been the series finale. Well, they've had a couple could have been series finales.
Yeah, because they were always like, are we getting canceled?
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
But this was kind of all right, we're going our separate ways, and we're all okay with that.
2 nights ago, I started rewatching the entire series just to lead up to the 6th season, because it's been a solid year since I've seen any of it.
Wow.
And it's pretty fun.
It
like,
is.
even
It's
the
a fun
first
series.
season, I'm like, I'm getting into it.
I did it
It's
too.
very
I picked
entertaining.
up in season 5 a few days
You
ago,
did.
and I was like, oh, I forgot how funny this is.
Yeah, and honestly, it's Troy and Abed. So, okay. So, Community. That makes sense, and it would kind of complete the mythology.
And if it happens, I want everyone to give me credit for that pitch I just did.
All right, Kent, how about yours?
All right, so I didn't really prepare 2 pitches, but I wrote a honorable mention, and I know this is going to be a controversial
Honorable
choice,
mentions, I forgot about that.
is Doctor Who. Okay? I know.
You're going to pitch a Doctor Who movie.
Yes.
Are we in 1990 right now, or?
It was
I'd rather see the movie, honestly.
It was
I'm
actually
behind you.
1995.
1995.
Now, can I ask
or
you?
6.
But I need to ask you, and
Yes.
you're probably going to talk about this in your pitch. But is this going to be a? I mean, you really couldn't do a condensing of all the Doctor Who storyline in one movie.
No.
So this would just be a movie episode.
It has to be a continuation.
Is this
yes.
also is this a British movie?
It is a
Or
British
this an
movie.
I want Will
Americanized-
Smith as
No,
the Doctor.
I mean-
Will Smith as the Doctor.
Will Smith. No, honestly, 2 years ago when Doctor Who, maybe 2-3 years ago, Doctor Who was picking up a lot of steam over here, and it's still continued. And everyone said Johnny Depp or Robert Downey Jr. is the Doctor.
No.
Because they're the big actors, right?
But no.
But no.
No.
But please, no.
No.
And it's got to be someone that's willing to continue at least a few episodes into the next series on TV.
But also, I like the fact that the Doctor. I like the fact that the Doctor has never been like this big household name previous to being the Doctor.
Okay.
Sure, they've done work before, but the Doctor really is what put all these actors on the map, and maybe the only thing they ever do with their lives. So they need to cast an unknown, or at least a lesser known,
But I think they just use whatever Doctor they have.
unless it's Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh my gosh.
He could be the Doctor.
There are a few people I know that listening to this are like, oh, please, please. Which I wouldn't like that. He's Sherlock,
He is Sherlock,
and he would just be the same character.
he would be, unless they decided to make him a little more, I don't know,
Con
loopy.
like.
He could do it.
No,
He wouldn't be evil.
he's too good an
Maybe
actor
more
not to do it.
penguin-like.
yeah.
He's one of those penguins.
But what I think, you could go with a big actor. I think, let's just say they use Peter Capaldi.
Okay.
And they use it and have that be his swan song as the actual movie.
Because he's old and he's going to die? Is that what you're saying?
No, but I'm saying he's bound to leave the show in the next 2 seasons anyways.
I don't know. Maybe he sticks around like, one of the other, like the fourth Doctor.
Yeah, but what I really think should happen is they kind of could do there's some weird...
Did you just say Gadoo?
There's some weird wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey way that it reverts back to David Tennant's storyline.
You want David Tennant back as the Doctor?
Not only we need David Tennant back as the Doctor.
So this would be a retro movie.
Imagine David Tennant in a big budget, big screen movie. Like, imagine that trailer and how much people would freak out if they see their favorite Doctor. And sorry to those who don't, who love number 4, number 11. There are a few of you. But David Tennant with his spiky hair, he's got his airwalks on in a big movie where the aliens look great.
He'd be okay. Well, he'd
No,
be good.
he would not.
he'd be pretty good. Well, he'd be really good.
All right, thank you. Took you a while. That's kind of how you felt about Doctor Who while watching it,
I was
right?
doing my David Tennant impersonation.
Oh, okay.
Well, I loved when he would do that. It's like a bubble. Well, more like just kind of go off like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think he would be fantastic. And if you put him in a, let's just say, 110-minute movie,
Okay.
big budget, but also British. It's got to be a British director. And
But don't we already have these
I think either...
with like the Day of the Doctor and like those extended...
they are big screen experiences.
Right.
They premiered at the theater, and people went in
Yeah, they did.
big number.
Yeah.
But those are also, you watch them and you're like, yeah, but I could watch this on TV and it would be the same quality.
So how would the movie be different? How would your movie be different?
Basically built for Blu-ray. I mean, everything would just be so visually incredible. I think they would probably have to go into...
Are you James Cameron right now?
Yes.
Christopher Nolan directing.
I think-
Michael Bay?
Michael Bay directing. Oh my gosh.
Michael Bay directing Johnny Depp as the Doctor.
We either have David Yates, who did the last 3 Harry Potter
He'd be a
movies,
good choice.
or Matthew Vaughn.
So you're completely discounting Mark
Also-
Wahlberg as the Doctor.
Hey, travel time. Want to come with? Go visit your mother.
Oh, man.
But I just, I don't know what the story would be. Maybe he goes home, finally.
That's kind of a spoiler.
I think he's kind of old. Do you think he's too old to
David
do it?
Tennant?
Yeah, to come back.
Yeah,
and
he
do
may
it.
not want to do it. I mean, he's come
The guy's
back.
ageless.
He's not ageless. I see him. I just watched him in that last commercial. Not
No, in
commercial, trailer
Broadchurch,
for,
David Tennant he's very thin.
No, he's supposed to look
wavy,
that in
but he's
Broadchurch.
supposed to look that way.
Yes, but the trailer where he's with, can't think of her
Rosamund
name.
Pike.
Yes, Rosamund Pike. I mean, he stood out to me. I was like, oh man, he's not looking good.
I think in the movie they kind of build it up to the end, and
David Tennant always looks good.
They do. They do this. I know exactly, right? But I think they changed doctors, and there's a cameo at the end of the movie for a female doctor, and that's how they do it.
In the movie,
and debut it at
Who's
the end of the
female
movie.
doctor then?
Angelina Jolie.
It's got to be someone, not Angelina Jolie, please. From Johnny Depp to Angelina
Melissa
Jolie.
McCarthy. It's Melissa McCarthy.
Stop it.
As the doctor.
That's even better.
Adam Sandler directs Melissa McCarthy as the doctor.
Dude, and that's what I'm worried about. Like, no one wants anyone to touch this BBC series because they'll make it Hollywood.
It has to be British.
It has to be British. So, and I think, honestly, Matthew Vaughn and David Yates have the perfect balance of reaching out to American audiences, being fun, but still being British.
What about a Christopher Nolan Doctor Who?
Oh, man, it would be so dark and deep. It would go into the consequences of the wibbly wobbly.
No, it should. I think that would be fun. I would like to see that change.
It kind of needs to be because, you can't see the Daleks again. You can't see... I mean, there are a lot
Nolan's
of great...
British, isn't he?
He is.
Wow.
Danny Boyle could do it.
He could. Visually, he could do it.
He has that surreal kind of, the visual stuff would totally work with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we're getting off on a tangent.
We could do a whole show on this now.
This is a serious tangent.
But I think Doctor Who, even though people are probably screaming, saying, no, please never make that into a movie, you're going to ruin it, the show's already kind of a shadow of what it used to be. Sorry. And I think Stephen Moffat needs to just walk away and have a new creative guy in there. And I think a movie could re-debut this for everyone, especially now that we're like the 10th year anniversary.
But do you think people would see it who haven't seen any Doctor Who?
There would have to be a healthy amount of exposition, much like Serenity went at the beginning.
Yeah.
There would have to be, I don't know, a really concise exposition.
Right. Although they did it quite well because that was all in a classroom setting. Anyway, I thought it was very well done.
Yes, me too.
By the way, I thought I should mention the fact that we didn't get to honorable mentions for worst, but I did want to put it out there that I think Bewitched was an honorable mention because it was this classic TV series, and then they turned it into this sloppy, horrible comedy.
Like a meta sort of
it wasn't well
remake.
done.
No.
And then also The Monkees. Wait, The Monkees TV series, they made that movie called Head.
Head is the weirdest movie.
And we rented it.
I'm not going to call it the worst because it was purposely weird.
No, people have called it the death knell of The Monkees' career. Like,
really?
Honestly, after that, they did not peak in the Billboard charts anymore. It was like the highest they got was 45th after that. And they think it was because this movie alienated audiences because the kids were weirded out and the adults were annoyed. And that movie, I think they say, killed the Monkees'
I think
career.
they were trying to be a Monty Python crew, and it just didn't work at all.
Maybe, except for Monty Python, at least when they were creative, they were funny. This wasn't trying to be funny. This was like an acid trip.
It really was.
My brothers and I loved the Monkees TV series. We loved the Monkees music. We rented the movie. We all hated it, and we never went back.
Let's hear, Joel, your...
My number one.
You have to be
other
fast
number one.
this time.
My other number one? Well, Kent already mentioned it. It's going to be Firefly Serenity.
Is it?
It's Firefly
That's
Serenity.
super surprising. I thought it would be Wayne's World.
Wayne's World.
No, you did mention Wayne's
I did
World
mention
the other day.
well, but after looking at these ones, it's an honorable mention. In fact, let me jump through my honorable mentions real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible, Police Squad,
a good choice.
Turning to Naked Gun, Wayne's World, Maverick, The Muppet Show, and I had to give some love to Star Trek 2.
Which Star Trek?
Not Star Trek 2.
Which one of the Star Treks? Because I agree
The
with
original
that.
series Star Trek.
No. But does that mean the Wrath of Khan?
Yes, that's like that.
I would disagree. I actually prefer First Contact better. So Next Generation.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, I really couldn't go through this list. I felt bad not mentioning Star Trek because it did make so many
I actually
movies.
think it's a quintessential success from TV to movies.
Yeah, and they're able to jump back and forth without any problem.
Yes.
Whereas other shows, they feel like the movie's the capstone, like this one. Where
Did you mention
that's kinda-
X-Files?
I didn't because I don't think the movies are as strong as the series.
I think Fight the Future is pretty good.
It's okay.
And I love calling it Fight the Future. I don't know if that's a tagline or if the actual title of the movie.
Subtitle.
But I think it's a good movie.
It is. It's a good movie, but I didn't think it was one of the best because I prefer the series to any. I prefer almost any series episode to the movies.
By the way, in the news today, speaking of spoilers,
don't. What do you get spoiler?
the new revival series is going to continue off of Home. One episode will be based off of Home.
No.
Yes.
Oh man.
Because they know that's everyone's favorite.
It's not everyone's favorite. It's the one that everyone talks about because it is so disturbing.
Yeah, so they're going to continue one episode based on that.
Yeah. So jumping back to Firefly Serenity, I think the series was great. As you all know, there's no question there. But I think it was cut short and it didn't give us closure. I mean, it gives us Jubal Early floating in space going, well, here I am.
Yeah.
And that's it. But then this canceled TV series, which this was before the days of Kickstarter, children. And this canceled TV series was able to get so much fan love that it was able to be made into a movie which wrapped up a bunch of loose ends, if not all the loose ends, and gave this beautiful story a capstone.
And kill everyone.
Well, that too.
Just kill the lovable one.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
level ones.
Oh, that's true.
But that's the thing is my dad has said that Firefly is a good series, but Serenity makes it a great series. And I totally agree.
I completely agree.
I think it's a fantastic series. And I actually don't want any more Firefly Serenity because, spoiler alert, I don't want to see a washless Firefly.
And Nathan Fillion is a little bit... I don't know if he could play Captain Mal. And people may be mad at that, but...
He's aged.
He's aged. It's funny that people still know Nathan Fillion for the 13 episodes he did in one show back in 2003 over the 7 seasons of Castle.
I'm betting you money. It's like 8-1. People call him Captain Mal rather than Castle.
Yeah.
And I think that I have some of the comics of Firefly 22. I think they're great.
Yeah.
They feel like extra episodes. But I really see no need for a continuation. I think that was a great ending to a series, and that's what it should be if they turn a TV series.
What
into a
if
movie.
it happened? Let's just say Joss Whedon
I'd
is like,
watch it.
I'm free of Marvel, and everyone is down. Let's do it. And Kickstarter
He'll do something
was
new,
due
he
like
did.
$20 million in one day.
Except for the fact they've said no.
No, but
Joss has already said no. Nathan Fillion's already said no.
hypothetical. Would you be excited or would you be worried?
I'd be worried, frankly.
Yeah. Be like, no.
I just feel like we've gotten to this habit now of trying to capture the magic of the past
Okay.
and never succeeding.
Arrested Development. Excuse me.
Was that something in your throat? It sounded like you said Machorowitz.
This disappointment in my
Yes, it
throat.
is. Yeah, I will say the 4th season of Arrested Development made me like the original series less.
But I totally agree with you. I think Firefly is a good series with incredible amount of potential. And then the movie, even though it's low budget, helps it get there.
And I actually saw Serenity before I saw Firefly.
You did? Okay.
My friend was like, you got to watch this series. I'm like, I don't want to commit to a whole series. Like, just watch this 2-hour movie. I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and then I said, I must know more. Mm-hmm. And I watched the entire series, and then watched Serenity
And you've
again.
named like all 7 of your kids after characters in
Yes,
Firefly.
all 7 of my kids. It's like Wash and Zoe and Kaylee and Mal and
Leaf on the Wind.
Inara. Yeah,
Yeah.
All right.
Inara. Oh, that was a
Well,
risky
I'll
choice.
tell you what, though, my little boy Reaver is a menace.
He would be. And don't trust Jane.
No,
You know?
no,
Never.
never. Anyway, that's my
That's a
number
good
one.
choice.
Thank you.
Okay, so my number 1 is Mission Impossible.
Dun 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 dun. All of them.
No, but basically, well, because you
Just number 2.
here's the thing: when you say Mission Impossible, you kind of always just erase 2 from your memory.
Well, you can erase John Woo just like that.
I can do a little
What?
backflip with the white doves
Face Off?
flying. You know, it's not a good movie. But the first one just came out, around 95, I believe.
97, I think, isn't it?
No,
it's
it's 96.
Oh, in the middle.
Yeah, and it made $500 million globally. And it kind of came out of nowhere for me. I watched the show here and there, kind of like back in the days when I was watching A-Team. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, it's okay.
It's a pretty loose adaptation of the TV
Pretty
series.
loose because who's the guy, Phelps or whatever? The old guy is in
Mr.
charge of the
Phelps.
TV show.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's Ethan Hunt. He's the star. And Tom Cruise is the guy.
No,
in fact, they kill all the regulars at the very beginning.
Which that was shocking.
Yeah.
To have this team, and I'm like, okay, here's our team. What? Emilio Estevez got an elevator to the face?
Is that what happened? Elevator to the face.
He's going up on the elevator,
Yeah.
the spikes come down, and
Yeah, that was gruesome.
it was gruesome.
But and maybe it's because back when I saw this, I was about 14, and I wasn't spoiled on movies. I wasn't as cynical as I am now. And when the twist happened in the movie, or twists, I'm going, I'm totally into this.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of, you can see it telegraphed from a mile away.
Yeah.
But I loved it. And just what it did for action movies at the time. You didn't even need a big budget, but just him lowering down to the floor, you know, the whole drop the sweat.
Which I still don't get exactly the mechanics of how he was that close to the ground and was able to get his hand under his face. But, whatever. Don't touch my lips.
Go to
Don't
sleep.
touch my lips. But I agree. I think Mission Impossible, it made my honorable mentions because I thought that it's very well done because it references the original series. Mm-hmm. It continues on with a new story, so it doesn't feel like you're just trying to, relive and reboot.
Yes.
And it has made a name for itself. Like, if you ask people now what they think of when they think of Mission Impossible, they think of Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big franchise now.
And it's strange. You think 2 would have killed it almost. It was just pulling a face off every time you can get a chance.
Yeah, that really did kill it for later on because you never know if someone's wearing a mask now. It's like,
Yeah, it actually killed it for about 6 years. And then when J.J. Abrams came out with 3 in 2006, everyone was like, "Oh, I forgot about this series."
Yeah.
And I like it again. And then 4 came out of nowhere as well, because they actually have every movie they've wanted to cancel the series, and they said, Tom Cruise is here.
You don't know why?
Why?
Because it's too impossible.
It's too impossible.
We can't make this. It's too impossible.
But here we are. I mean, 5 comes out soon with the 6 announced.
Yeah.
And this series is still going.
At what point does Tom Cruise jump ship, though?
65.
No, actually, they wanted to fire him right after 3 and have Brad Pitt take over.
Brad Pitt?
Yes.
He's the same age as Tom Cruise.
I know, but they thought he was more bankable.
No, they need Channing Tatum.
It's a matter of time.
If Phil Lord and Chris Miller are directing the movie, okay.
That would be a very different Mission Impossible.
Yeah, but I think that's the best. I mean, there's Star Trek up there. There's all the SNL skits and everything, which are generally bad. I think Mission Impossible has done the best.
Okay. That's fair.
Did you watch the last trailer? The latest
It was
one?
awesome.
Yeah.
It was
good
awesome.
stuff. I like that one.
And he looks old. My goodness.
He does look a little older.
That guy is crazy.
And he needs to. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, well, you look good.
At what point
you
does
also
Jeremy
look
Renner
old.
just take over?
Jeremy Renner looks better, actually. Did you notice that? I don't know.
I think
think
Jake has a crush on Jeremy Renner.
a little bit since the last Avengers.
Well, I remember, like, I saw him on Avengers, and I was like, man, he just kind of looks beat up to me, like, in Avengers. Like, he didn't look so good. Like,
well, he's kind of got a Quasimodo face a little bit.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's harsh.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Him and Daniel Craig.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And if he continued with the series, I think that would be okay. It's not quite the role he's done in the movie so far.
Yeah.
But I'd be totally fine with that. But just the stunts they're pulling off now. And I even thought the story in 4 was super weak, but the stunts
matter
made it
'cause it
so
was so fun
watchable.
to watch.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
fun. And people watch it for the gadgets. They watch it for the near misses. They watch it for the cliffhangers. They don't really watch it for story. Because if you do start looking at the story, it's kind of like, wait, if this person's double crossing this person, then why is this person acting like this? And
Did that person just double cross themselves?
yeah, pretty much that's what it comes down
Yeah.
to.
All right.
Final pitches?
Yes.
So my final pitch, it's not going to be a surprise to anyone who knows me, is I'm going to say we need a Pushing Daisies movie.
Oh yeah.
Now,
I almost went here because I knew you would.
Yeah. So I mean, if you haven't seen Pushing Daisies, it's a Brian Fuller TV series. It was on for 2 seasons. It was killed by the writer's strike. But the story is essentially there's this pie maker who has the ability to raise the dead, but he can only raise them for 1 minute, otherwise something else dies. And anything he raises, he can't ever touch again, and otherwise they'll die forever. So he raises his long lost love from the dead in the first episode, and then he can't touch her again. So it's this amazing relationship.
Great catch-22.
It is, because
Yes.
they love each other, but they cannot physically touch each other at all. Otherwise, she will die again. And I think the series got cut off because of the writer's strike, and I hate the writer's strike for it. I hate the writer's strike that Ugly Betty lived on while Pushing Daisies got killed.
Gross.
Seriously, what's wrong with America? But Pushing Daisies, we need to have closure. We didn't get it. At the final episode, this would be my favorite series probably of all time because it's an amazingly beautiful, amazingly creative
It is
series.
so much fun, so charming.
It is. And then at the ending, you get kind of this very quick wrap-up of what everyone's doing, but you don't get the closure that you need. And Brian Fuller has been saying for a long time that he's going to do a movie or a play or a comic book, but we haven't gotten anything. And I think he needs to take a page out of Rob Thomas's book, not Matchbox 20.
Just like the ocean.
Veronica Mars, and he needs to do Kickstarter because I would pay money. I've never backed a Kickstarter project before, but if
This would be
came
the
up,
one.
I would back it.
Lee Pace is a steadily working actor.
Yeah.
And I think
He was the pie maker. Yeah.
he's the pie maker. I think, and he's not a superstar. I think he could lead a movie like this.
I think he could. And I think we just need something. Just something. We need a Serenity-type capstone to end the series. And I already have a theory on how it should end.
Okay. Can you tell us?
I can. In the sense that we've never seen anyone that Ned has raised from the dead die again from natural causes. Meaning he touches someone, they stay alive, and then the only time we've seen them die again is if he touches them. So my thought is, what happens when someone who is raised by Ned ends up getting killed, whether by gunshot or hit by a car again or something like that? And so I think that resets the clock. So say, for example, Digby the dog gets hit by a car again and dies, and then he's able to touch him and raise him, but it raises him only to mortality because he died while being raised.
It seems like a Deus Ex Machina, honestly.
It does, but we need something.
You need something
I want
for
something.
the love story.
Because there's no wear-off period.
Then he has to find that out at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and that's what it's going to be.
Okay.
It's going to be. I think it's going to be a situation where it happens with Digby. He doesn't realize it happened with Digby, and then something happens to Chuck. And in his mourning, when he touches her, she's able to be
It
raised.
would be kind of great if I'm just going to help you pitch the end here.
Please do.
Where there's a tough situation, Jake's falling asleep on us, there's a tough situation, and I forget the woman in the Chuck.
Yes.
That's her name. That's why I forgot
A
her
girl
name.
named Chuck.
Chuck. She gets shot or something, but he catches her.
Yeah.
As she's dying, and when he touches her, maybe she's dead, from the gunshot. But she comes back to life because he brings her to mortality.
And that's a theory. Like, I have no basis for this other than we've never really seen it happen, and I think that's what we need. So, Brian Fuller, if you're listening, please make this happen. I need closure.
Yeah, Kickstarter. Do it, please.
All right,
Kickstarter.
go, Kent.
Dexter.
What?
Dexter or Dexter's Laboratory?
Dexter. Dexter needs to come back. Dexter went 8 seasons and ended in the worst way possible. I think it's in the top 10
Do you really
worst.
think coming back is going to solve that?
Yes, and I'll tell you how.
Because Dexter's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day.
That's what we're talking about. Like, that's how it ended. Like, Jake, have you seen the show?
Bits and pieces.
Important people.
He said bits and pieces when talking about Dexter.
Slice it up. Important people die who should not have died. Dexter is alive at the end. He becomes a lumberjack.
Would this be a continuation or would this be a re-ending?
This would be a re-ending.
Whoa.
This would take place right after season 4.
Okay.
And so they are completely just not... Kind of like Jurassic World.
Okay.
Jurassic Park 2 and 3 didn't exist.
That was all an acid trip from the mind of Dr. Malcolm.
So Dexter, seasons 5 through 8, did not exist at all.
Okay, so you're back to the Triad Killer.
Yes, a Trinity Killer.
Trinity Killer, that's what it is.
Yeah, so it...
Triad is Arrow.
Yeah. So that just finishes, and so, there's Rita in that situation. But basically, he loses the Dark Passenger. Like, that situation where there's a death really close to him makes him lose this Dark Passenger, which means he loses the urge to kill. Meanwhile, there's a new serial killer who has a personal tie to Dexter in some way. Probably a cannibal, let's say. So kind of let's capitalize on the whole Hannibal craze right now and have these two great serial killing minds go against each other.
Versus Dexter.
But then in the movie, because obviously his Dark Passenger, his urge to kill needs to come back, we no longer see the ghost of his father. We see the ghost of his brother, Brian. And Joel, you follow me here.
I'm following.
And so it's truly a Dark Passenger. There's no longer a moral code with this guy. And the show tried to do this in the last couple seasons. It got messy. I think if they made it this really concise storyline, great. But what needs to happen?
Would fans accept it, though? Would they
fans would accept it with
erased?
Open arms. Nobody likes 5 through 8. And, there are good moments in 6 and... Maybe. That's it. That's all I can say. Those last 4 seasons are awful, and the first 4 seasons are some of the best on television.
Now, has that been done before?
No.
That a TV series... I'm just wondering, just out of curiosity, if a TV show has ever made a movie in the middle of a series and disregarded the ending.
Let's make it a first.
That would be new.
But, Michael C. Hall is such a dynamic actor, and seeing him on the big screen, directed by David Fincher...
Ooh.
So we have the good, nihilistic, monologues and everything. It would just work. And it would end with Deb finding Dexter, kind of like she did in season 6, in the middle of cutting somebody up.
Bits and pieces.
And she would have to decide, am I going to kill this guy, turn him in, or let him go?
So do you have a better ending in mind?
She would have to kill him. Deb kills Dexter.
And that's your ending.
That's the ending.
That's the sister, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw a finale in season 5, 4, something like that.
It's probably 6.
Where they're driving, she's driving, and she's just found out that he's the killer, and so she drives into the lake or something.
Oh, that's 7.
And I was like, oh, that should be the ending right there. She finds out, she kills them both.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's perfect. It went on?
No, it's crazy because there's never a consequence for Dexter's actions. There's an entire season dedicated to, oh no, you're almost getting caught, which is a fun season. But then all these great cops have no idea that he's just right under their noses. Mm-hmm. And it's so frustrating and actually unbelievable. So there needs to be a season where he's either on the run, which that could continue off season 8.
Yeah.
Or that they get smart and they find him and trap him.
We're turning it into Get Smart? Is that what I heard?
No, we are not turning it into Get Smart. But I think Dexter
Steve Carell
would be
Dexter.
a great movie.
So that's our TV pitches and our best TV series and our worst TV series turned into movies.
Yes.
Thank you for listening, everyone. We are available on iTunes, and you can also catch me at 786Joel on Twitter.
I'm at Kenny3DD.
And Jacob A. Rogers on Twitter. So check us out. Go to baconsale.com. Leave some comments. Go on iTunes. Leave us a review.
Please do. And thank you for listening to Baconsale. That old man, he's funny. You better be ready to jump.
Can we pray about it?
I understand how you're feeling. It needed to die.
So you look like that shrunken head guy in Beetlejuice?
But no.
But no.
So you're completely discounting Mark Wahlberg as the Doctor,
Because he's Canadian, it has to be British.
and we never went back. Are you saying we're improper, poo-poo head? My little boy Reaver is a menace. Whatever. Don't
Go
touch
to
my,
sleep.
don't touch my lips.
Go to
Don't
sleep.
touch my lips.